point of view. Rugo, if we say that 1.1 trillion must be borrowed after the grants and all of those things are taken into consideration, and we know that about 900 billion of that will come from the domestic market, which is a more expensive loan because the external loans are coming at about 2-3%. Can you trace where the 900 billion shillings will actually go?
Good question. So that's where now that's where it gets very complicated, because a lot of our local borrowing is going to finance our normal running of government. It's not going to any specific project. That's a fact. We borrow to refinance. So we issue a T-bill and refinance a bond. We issue a T-bill, transfer money to counties. I suspect even sometimes, and the reason why I say that is because when you do the math and look at the expenditure, you look at just quick math. So you have about 2,800, in terms of expenditure. When you look at the entirety of our must pay, we are talking about 1.5. But the fact is that when you add redemptions, it's actually 2.5. About 2,500. If you add counties, it's 420. Already, you are at 5720. Thereabout. You already passed 5 trillion. If you add just those, if you must pay the redemption is a principle. If the people who have given you money come and say we want our principal, and you have to pay, and they always put it in the books. It's one figure that is always contested. So the budget is this, and then there's another figure that is slightly up. Then you have a revenue of 3,600. Already it says that for you to provide all the other services, you need about some other 2,000 or 2 trillion. Now, because of that, it means that all the money you are borrowing, a lot of it is just going to pay teachers, to deal with different other expenses. By the time you come to do, the beauty about the external borrowing, a lot of the external borrowing is that it's pegged. Today we can continue fighting to get the SGR documents because we know the money that was borrowed was pegged to SGR.
Yes.
But when you come to the Eurobonds, they are not pegged to anything specific. They are just, they are borrowing to come and, finance the budget. The goal would be, and we have pushed this to Parliament to say, we know so much has been borrowed, at least from the books. Can we align it to specific projects that were done? Because part of the reason why we are so in debt distress, hence my red, is that you cannot trace what projects we have done with the money. And therefore, the projects are not giving us any return on investment, as it were, including the guaranteed loans, because there are monies we have taken as loans and guaranteed Kenya Pipeline, and guaranteed Kengen, and Kenya Airways, and guaranteed all these same state corporations. Not to mention, they're the same state corporations that account for about 80% of the pending bills. They're the ones not paid. So we have said we want to see the projects that you are doing with the money that you are borrowing. And for me, therefore, the concern for domestic borrowing is twofold. One, the interest rate is too high. Two, you actually cannot trace it for where it has been spent.
And Rugo, I think before you even proceed then, we know exactly like you've said, we borrowed SGR money to finance SGR. We can see it. Whether we are seeing return on investment is another question.
Correct.
But is there express orders or requirement that even when we are borrowing locally, it ought to be pegged to a project?
So there's no express for borrowing or externally or internally. What the law says is that all borrowing is for capital expenditure. Just to change it from development, because I find the development word, I think everything is development. Even a teacher going to class is also participating in development. So for capital expenditure. And the reason for that is that you are investing in something that will give you a return. So you're borrowing to put up a mango industry, a mango processing plant. That mango processing plant will spur the economy. You're borrowing to put up a road, that opens up parts of the country, or an SGR that moves goods. Now, our SGR seems to move more goods in than it moves out, which is corroborated by our exports numbers. We have more coming in. Our stabilization of the the forex seems to be more to facilitate import than export. So for me, we have not reached there, and that is why we are. Even part of the Oko Uchumi campaign that I'm part of, we are saying we want every project tied to its source of money. And this has been the reason why it never moves is what baffles me. Uhuru Kenyatta, when he was Minister for Finance and Deputy Prime Minister, came up with e-promise. E-promise was to do a very basic thing. It was to tie every project to its source of money.
But why is that so difficult? I must interject, and then maybe why is that so difficult to do?
Why?
Because when you go to ask for the funds, essentially, there is a reasoning,
yes,
and there's a lot of